Start the recording. Can everybody hear me and see my screen okay and see me okay? Hopefully. Okay, good. Just making sure. Great. Well, good morning, Roxanne and Ray. Thank you for joining me this morning. Hopefully we'll have a few more people join us as we go through our session today. I apologize for starting just a few minutes late. I have, of course, because of course our live session was starting, so of course my phone rang. I've been waiting for this phone call all morning. So last mod, my puppy decided, we have no idea how she did. She broke her paw. She broke like 3 of the fingers on her paw, snapped them right in half. So, I know, right? So she's been in a cast for 6 weeks now. And so then last Friday, she decided she was done with her cast. She's half terrier and half shepherd. And so she decided, I'm done with this cast. I want it off. And I was not home for like the majority of the afternoon on Friday. So she just decided to go ahead and take it off. I came home and the cast was just laying on the floor and she was like, nope, I'm done. So we took her back in and they x-rayed it again and they're like, oh, this isn't healing. You need to now go see a surgeon so that we can put pins in her paw. Now, yeah, I know I tried the cone of shame to keep her from messing with the cast, but she wouldn't move. She would just lay there with her head down and pretend like she couldn't breathe and wouldn't move. So good morning, Jordan. So she's a little high maintenance. She's always been that way. Like when we first got her from the Humane Society, she's a rescue. We got her from the Humane Society. Yeah, she's a little dramatic. She came with really bad urinary tract infection and also worms. And so we ended up spending about $500-600 on her in our first month that we had her, just getting her healthy. And she's been fine since then. So then, of course, after that, I had bought pet insurance on her, right? And I've been paying every month on pet insurance, been paying on it for 4 years now, and never used it again. Well, when we moved, I decided, we've never used this. Let me go ahead and cancel this. Not 1 month after I canceled the health insurance, she broke her paw. Of course she did. So the initial break cost us $500. I don't even want to know what the surgery is going to cost us. So that was, anyway, the whole point of the story was that was the vet telling me that, yes, we couldn't reset it. We'd have to have the surgeon fix it for her. I mentioned I'm going on vacation at the end of this mod. Yeah. Yeah. And now the dog needs surgery. So yeah, good times. Welcome. Welcome to my life. So good morning. That was my joyous phone call of the morning. So great way to start the week. This is DES242 logo and identity design. We are in week 2. This is our live session 1 for week 2. So it is Tuesday, October 23rd, and it is about-ish 9 a.m. Mountain Time. A few minutes late, right? So let's go ahead and get started with our class. I'll just leave you with my little horror story of the morning. Dogs are almost as expensive as kids are, and I have 2 of each. And man, do they just suck the bank account completely out of me between the 4 of them. Holy cow. I need a vacation from being a mom and a dog mom for a day or 6. I don't know. Okay, so let's take a look at our agenda. We've got a few reminders. Then we're going to go over our week 2 coursework. We're going to do a quick review of the primary logo tips that I want you to remember as you're working in your logos this mod. Then we're going to go over the design process, and we will just kind of review what you need to know for your quiz this week, and then I'll do a week 2 assignment demo today as well. Yes, exactly, Roxanne. Definitely need lots of patience with both kids and dogs. It's oh, wow. It's a good thing I love you and you're cute. I say that a lot to all 4 of them. It's a good thing I love you and you're cute. Because otherwise I might leave you on a fireman's porch or something. Oy vey. They are so great when they're asleep. Well, and what's worse is, like, the dog who broke her paw, so like I said, she's half terrier, and she's only, I guess she's just turned 4, or she just turned 3, I can't remember. Anyway, she is super, super hyper, and so when she originally broke her paw, the vet's like, well, you need to keep her from jumping on things and running up and down stairs and running around and getting too hyper, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's gonna happen. I'll just tell my dog to calm down, and it'll be fine. I'm sure she will listen to me and just calm down, because that's what happens. No. And so, yeah, so of course it didn't set right. Okay. So then, yeah, so we're going to go over all our week 2 coursework in our live session today, and then when we meet again on Thursday, we will do our week 1 logo critiques as well. So, couple of quick just kind of updates, reminders, etc. I have been working on grades this week. I did all the discussion posts. I started working on the assessments. Hopefully my plan is to have everything graded by the end of the day today. That's my plan. We'll see how that goes for me. But grades are due. We need to have grades done by noon Mountain Time on Wednesday, so everything will be graded by then, at the very latest. But I am working on grades, and they will get done as soon as I can get them done. I will give you feedback on your on your logos in the grading feedback, and then again, as a reminder, we will do a live session critique on Thursday. As I mentioned last week, I do have 2 sections of this course, so several students. I've already gotten a couple of emails from students who want to have their projects critiqued on Thursday, just to make sure to remember that if you want to make sure that your logos get critiqued on Thursday, make sure you send me an email and let me know, so that I can put you on my list and make sure that I put your projects up towards the top, because I don't think we will get through everyone's. You never know, but I don't think we will get through everyone's in the live session on Thursday. I try to do my best, but okay, yeah, just send me an email and remind me, because I have a list started. But yeah, so send me an email and let me know. Please critique my project on Thursday, and I'll put you on my list. Okay, so a couple of things that have kind of, so one of the things that has sort of kept me from being able to get grades done earlier is I have been fielding quite a few emails from students who have started to have issues with their computer recently. And I do believe that a lot of these issues are stemming from updates both for the OS, for the Mac OS, and also from Adobe updates as well. So I just kind of want to put that out there that with the updates, both for the Mac OS and for the Adobe software, there have been some issues coming up with students. I know that the Adobe software, the software now resides on the cloud now as opposed to on your computer, and so you may have issues with it not uninstalling the old version of the applications. You may have to go into the settings and adjust that. I also know that some students have been updating software and they don't have enough room on their computer, and then their computers are crashing. So, and yes, Roxanne says go to Adobe support, they helped. Yes. So if you have decided to update, or you are working on getting ready to update, which of course everyone needs to do, myself included, make sure. I just got my computer backed up last night, so I'm going to work on that sometime this week or this weekend, updating all my software as well. Just make sure that before you start the update process, you know how to contact Adobe, and make sure that you read all the instructions on how to do that. Make sure you have Sean's contact information. He is our contact in our department for updating Adobe and the OS and everything, and his contact information can be found in the IUGA community. If you look at the multi-session schedule, which is also in the IUGA community, I showed you where all that was last week, then at the bottom it shows the day and time he does his open office hours for Adobe help, which I believe are on Friday. So just make sure that you have all of his contact information, you have Adobe's contact information before you start the process, because in case anything comes up, you know, it could leave you in a very bad position of not being able to get your coursework done or your computer crashing. Make sure you've backed up important files before you start the update. Make sure you delete anything you don't need off your computer to leave room, etc. So yeah, it's not like their last few updates where it's just a matter of updating the software and you just go about your business. This is a huge update, and it's changing the applications and completely reinstalling new applications. So it has the potential, and it has already for several students caused a lot of problems. So just be aware, and not to say don't update, but just make sure that you have all the contact information you need in case it does. Your keys are getting stuck a lot. You've had to clean your keyboard several times, Ray. Okay, well that's probably due to something getting spilled on it or something, I would guess. But yeah, you can also probably, you might be able to take it in somewhere and get something done to it, but yeah, I don't know, that's weird. So also, you know, keep in mind that if you are struggling with your coursework in any way, there are several options available for you if you need help with your coursework. So, you know, of course, you're always welcome to email me, but I've had a few students email me about issues that they're running into, and I can't help them via email. So if you are having issues uploading projects or working with your applications, or something's going wrong with your computer or something like that, you really need to get in and talk to somebody and be able to share your screen on your computer, because just be aware that we can't really help you out with just an email saying it doesn't work. Like that's not going to be enough for us to be able to give you the assistance that you need. Of course, I have open office hours each week. I have 4 open office hours on Monday, 2 this afternoon, and then 2 more tomorrow as well. So, you know, you also all have faculty program advisors as well who will have open office hours, so they can help you out if you're struggling either with your coursework or with your computers or with your applications or anything like that, or if you're having issues updating or uploading or anything like that. So check out their open office hours as well. It's in the same location in the GA community that I showed you last week. In addition to that, we have our learning coach. I post our learning coach flyer in here every week. So our learning coach for this mod is Christy Paulson, and she has some availability Wednesday evening, Thursday evening as well. So, you know, make sure that if you're struggling with something, that you contact her and get in with her or one of the other learning coaches that's available. Also keep in mind that we have multi-sessions that we run. Those are primarily for our 100 level students, but any of our students are welcome to utilize those multi-sessions if you need help with something. So there's several multi-session hours available throughout the week. So there shouldn't be, I mean, there's some in the evenings, there's some in the mornings. You know, the learning coaches have availability in the afternoons and evenings. I have availability during the day. Your faculty program advisors' hours vary as well. So there are several options for students to get help if you're struggling. Just make sure that you're reaching out and you're getting in touch with somebody if you need help. And again, just sending me an email or sending your faculty program advisor an email saying, hey, I can't do this, we can't really help you in that way. You have to seek out the help where we can actually be able to look at your screen, look at your computer, and be able to help you. Oh, and then I will remind you of this every week. But just keep in mind that in week 4, I do have some, well, it's the end of week 3, beginning of week 4, I have some vacation. I will be out that Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, and Sean will be helping me like with the discussion posts and the grades. I will adjust our live sessions so that I can teach all of the live sessions that week. So we'll probably do our live sessions Wednesday and Thursday of that week. But I will keep you updated on that and let you know what the exact time of the Wednesday live session will be, since we won't do one on Tuesday. But I'll just remind you of that. And you know, wow, it's already week 2. So next week in week 3, gosh, I can't believe that I'm going on vacation in like a week and a half. I'm not quite ready for that. Anyway, so I will let you know in our live session next week when the adjusted live session will be. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Anyone in here having issues with their computer or Adobe, or any issues with their coursework, or anything that we can address before we get started in on week 2 content? Questions, comments, concerns, anything? Not yet. You work on a PC, yeah. Well, some days PCs are better than Macs. Not usually, but man, the problem with Macs is that when they have problems, they have big problems. Can't just be easy. Not really any issues. Good. Okay, good. All right. Well, yeah, and then of course, just let me know if you do have any issues come up. Okay, so let's take a look. No, you're fine. I understand. Let's take a look at our week 2 coursework very quickly. And we'll go over that again. I'm going to demo the week 2 assignment for you in our live session today. But keep in mind that if you need to, access the live session recordings and rewatch anything, I do post the recordings in here. They're just posted so you can watch them through Canvas. If you need them posted in a different way so that you can watch them like on YouTube or something like that, just let me know. I'm happy to go in and do that for you if you need me to. Also, make sure that you're going in doing your daily checkpoints each day as often as possible. And let me know if you have any issues with the daily checkpoints. Like when you said you do demos early in the week. Oh, yeah, I try to. Yeah, I do my demos. I try to do my demos on Tuesday, and then my my other stuff on Thursday. So try and make sure you have all that information. Also, make sure that you you're going through all of your course media each week. You do have a quiz that you're going to do for your assessment this week, and your quiz questions are going to be primarily taken from these the readings and videos and the course media content. So you do need to make sure you've gone through all of the articles and all of the videos that you need to watch prior to taking the assessment, because that, again, if you don't go through that information, you will not pass the quiz. It's just as simple as that. So make sure you go through all this information first. I also suggest having this page open in a separate tab when you go to take your quizzes, because that way if you need to reference back to something, you can do that quickly. So the quiz for week 2 could cover anything from the readings and videos for week 1 and 2. Yep, both weeks. So this week, it looks like you've got primarily Linda videos to watch. There's also a PDF in here as well, but primarily it's Linda videos, talking a lot about logo designs and identity and brand identity. And I can tell you from looking at the quiz that a lot of the content is, in the quiz is going to be information that you learn in week 2. But yeah, I mean, they talk about a lot of this stuff as well from week 1. So yeah, you'll have to make sure you go through everything from week 1 and 2 if you've not done so already before you take that quiz, or you will fail it. Just FYI. Okay, so, and I do have kind of a list of some of the things, some of the topics that are covered in the quiz that I'll go over with you so that you know kind of what to really pay very close attention to when you're going through those readings and videos. Okay, so week 2, taking a look at our overview. Some of the learning objectives that we're going to be discussing this week: define the importance of size, resolution, color, pathway, descriptions, and logo. Within logo and identity creation, discuss the impact of logo and identity construction when a company diversifies its product offerings. And then analyze the relationship that exists between a logo and a corporate identity. We started talking about that last week. We'll continue talking about that a little bit more this week as well. So your discussion post this week really focuses on logo challenges and identity challenges when companies start to diversify a little bit. So, this can kind of love the morning quiz video. Oh, are you talking about the daily checkpoint? I haven't looked at what that is yet today. So, yeah, good. I'm glad. Yeah. So the one of the challenges that you will face a lot when you work with a company are companies that either want to rebrand their company or want to diversify their company and want to have additional brands kind of under an umbrella. Like for instance, I'll give you a for instance. I have, I started a company when I graduated with my bachelor's degree before I started teaching a lot. I had started my own company called 913 Media. And I did design work, I did web design, I did videography, photography, that sort of thing. Well, my husband actually then started doing a lot of freelance work himself. He works in the IT field. So he started 913 Tech. So then we had two different companies that we were trying to kind of manage. And then we decided at one point, hey, you know what, we probably need to kind of combine this all and make it one. So we decided to create a corporation that was called 913, and but we did business as 913 Media and 913 Tech. Okay, so but you know, each one of those companies had its own branding, had its own logo, color schemes, etc. Right. So this happens quite a bit in business. So you know, it might be a company that has started a company that wants to, you know, create some additional companies that go along with it, or they may have a company, they open up another company, they may have different sections of their company. I've seen, you know, for instance, the design, when I first started working in the design field, I actually worked for a print and direct mail company, but we were owned by an advertising agency. And so what ended up happening was that advertising agency was using us a lot for printing their products that they were creating at the advertising agency, and they decided, hey, instead of paying these premiums we're just going to buy the printing company and have that as a secondary income source for us, and then we can get all our printing done for free, right? So, you know, things like this happen in business all the time. And one of the biggest challenges that we face as designers is how do we incorporate these new business offerings with an existing brand and still make them cohesive and still and not lose any of our current clientele with a complete rebranding. Okay, so you know, this again, there's a variety of reasons why this would happen, but it happens all the time in business. So for your discussion post this week, you're gonna be talking again to the same company that you talked to for week one, right? Or pretending that you're working with the same client. And so that was the ice cream shop that you created, or that you talked to them about creating a new logo for and a brand identity for. So then you're going to imagine that you have a few years have passed since you created this kind of identity for them. And their company has been very successful, so successful, in fact, that they have decided to expand, and they have expanded. They've got 3 different locations now. And now they've decided they want to diversify their company, and they want to you know, also go into potentially children's toy market and a series of educational games for mobile devices. So again, it would be under this umbrella corporation of the ice cream shop that now has multiple locations, but they're completely different types of businesses. So because you worked on their logo and they were really happy with the branding and identity you did for them, they've approached you to help them kind of navigate the visual look and feel of this new endeavor. Though you, the designer, knows there is not one correct answer, you need to share with them the pros and cons of creating an entirely new visual identity for the games, or keeping an existing logo, or creating a new hybrid logo that bridges both the ice cream and the games. So, you know, you kind of have to do a lot of research this week on the 3 different kind of options that you could give them, and talk a little bit about what are the pros and cons of each one. So for instance, if they were to use or if they were to rebrand the whole company, so in other words, a new logo for the ice cream shop, new logo for the game leg, and then maybe potentially a corporate logo that would encompass both, what are the pros and cons of that? So, you know, obviously one of the pros would be if they rebrand the whole thing and they start from scratch and they create this new corporate identity, then they can make sure everything is uniform. They can create separate identities for each kind of area, for the corporate, for the ice cream, for the games. But but they can still kind of be very cohesive. And it would be much easier to get that cohesion and to get an overall brand if they rebranded. However, there are cons to rebranding, right? So what you'll learn in your research, one of the major cons in rebranding is you can potentially lose existing clientele. Whether we want to admit it or not, or whether we even can acknowledge it or not, we get really we get really attached to brands. So if you have, for instance, a favorite soda or a favorite TV show or or something like that, part of what you love about that brand is going to be their branding and identity, whether it's in your consciousness or not. And a lot of times companies have tried to rebrand and had to go back or had to, beg for forgiveness afterwards because their existing clientele may not like their new brand or identity. And so you have to, in rebranding, you have to figure out how to do that in a way that you're not going to alienate any existing customers or make them think that the company's gone out of business or is under new ownership or something like that. Like, how do you navigate all of that? Roxanne, you say you're rebranding a friend's reality business. Sorry, I can't read right now. They don't get much interaction with the old logo. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, and so a lot of times, and sometimes it's not a full rebranding. A lot of times what you'll get asked to do is kind of update logos. And, there's a difference between a full rebranding and a logo update. A logo update is really just kind of bringing it to more modern trends, maybe using different fonts, but kind of keeping the same color scheme, or maybe using a different color scheme, but you're getting, using the same basic layout, whatever it may be. But when you do a new logo, or when you update a new logo, you want to kind of keep some of the elements from the existing branding, so that really you're just kind of updating the logo. Hold on one second. My dog is freaking out for no reason. You want to your kennel. Then go to your kennel. Come. My older of the two dogs is set in her ways, and she's decided that every day at between 10:30 and 11, she has to go and lay in her kennel. For no reason whatsoever. She hates her kennel. In fact, she tries to dig or chew out of it when she has to go in there. But if she's not being forced to go in there, she wants to go in there. But it was closed, so she couldn't get in. So she was just standing there looking at it like all forlorn, like, what do I do? The door is closed. They're worse than kids, see? I think they're worse than kids. Okay, so yes, exactly, just like Yahoo, right? So yes, so Yahoo did that. They just basically redid their logo, right? And so that is one way that a company can update a logo without fully rebranding. They're going to use like the same color scheme, or but they're going to change the font, or they're going to use the same layout, but they're going to change the font and color scheme, or something along those lines, right? A rebranding is really taking and not just changing the logo alone, but also changing the look and feel of the company, and potentially even, kind of coming up with a new way that the company wants to be represented and be thought of. So, maybe integrity was a big thing and before, and then they rebranded and they want to be known as your, maybe if you like, for instance, if you're rebranding a bank, and before it was all about financial security and integrity, but now they want to be known as your friendly neighborhood bank. That would be a rebranding, right? So that would be changing the corporate identity. Financial responsibility and integrity is a different color scheme, is different fonts, is different, look and feel of advertisements than, your friendly neighborhood bank, right? That's going to be different color scheme, different fonts, different everything. So, they could update their logo. That would be one option. They could just update their logo and create a new logo for the game. They could do a total rebranding. They could also just try and create a logo for their new leg of the company that works with the existing logo, that's taking some of the elements. Maybe they use the same fonts, but it's a completely different layout and different color scheme, or maybe they use the same colors but different fonts. So there are ways that you could, as a designer, create a new logo for them for this new leg of their business that would still fit within the same brand. But obviously, you know, being that there are multiple options, you would want to, a good designer would want to present all the options to a client. And one of the things that I'm seeing just already in some of the responses that I'm seeing in the discussion posts is that you guys are really starting to understand, and I love this, that you're really starting to see, you know, kind of the big picture. Okay, so as opposed to a client coming to you and saying, hey, I need another logo, and you just doing another logo, you're starting to make those connections, and I'm seeing that in your discussion posts, which is really great. You really need to think about, you need to be the big picture person for your client, because a lot of times clients don't understand what they're asking you for. So if this client were to come to me and say, hey, you did my logo for my ice cream shop, we're going to do some games, can you give me another logo? I would know to start asking them a lot more questions. Well, do you want this logo to look like your other one? I mean, do you want to have the same sort of branding and identity associated with this company? How closely associated are these companies going to be? Are they completely different? Are you going to be marketing one with the other, and et cetera? So I know to say, okay, how intertwined are these companies going to be? And that's going to make a huge difference in what I'm going to present to them. And then once I get that information from them, then I can present to them what their options are and what the pros and cons of their options are. So I think, in my mind, a big part of this discussion post should be you thinking again about the big picture and thinking about questions that you feel like you need answers to before you can give them the pros and cons. Because it could be that they want the companies completely separate. They're just creating another company line, or do they want it to be do they want one to incorporate the other? So what kind of diversification are they doing? So that also is some information that you can include in your discussion post. Make sure that you're doing research for your discussion posts each week. Make sure that you're citing all of your references in there in APA format as well. But, you know, again, be thinking about what else you need to know so that you can really help them. Because if a client comes to you and says, hey, I need another logo, and you just create another logo, and they don't work together, and the business is not successful, and that branding is not successful, they're not going to come back to you. And again, you know, there's a lot of things that are incorporated in that that they would have to change if they did a rebranding, or that they would have to adjust that they may not be thinking about. Oh, well, okay, if you want to do a whole new logo and a whole new rebranding, you got to change the signs and the uniforms and all of your advertising and all of your promotional items, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And is that something that they're really wanting to get into? So that's the discussion post this week. I think there's a lot there that you can talk about and learn more about branding and identity while you're doing that as well. Make sure you get your initial discussion post in by the end of the day tomorrow. And then you get, do please respond to peer posts, at least 2 peer posts each week by the end of the day on Saturday. Excuse me. Allergies are going nuts this week. It's finally like fall here, and leaves are starting to turn and change colors and fall off the trees and picking up dust. That's making me cough and sneeze. Lots of coughing and sneezing. Okay, so our week 2 assignment, I'm going to skip over that really quickly because we're going to talk about that in more detail in a minute. For our week 2 assessment, again, you're doing a quiz. Again, this quiz, primarily the content for this quiz is going to come from that course media, the readings and videos that you've done for weeks 1 and 2. I don't believe so. There's 15 questions. The quiz has 15 questions, and this is pulled from a question bank. So no 2 students are going to have the exact same questions. So, you know, don't try and share answers, because you won't be able to, because you guys will each get a different set of 15 questions. There's no time limit on here. And I believe that they're all, I've looked through them, most of them are multiple choice. So I believe. So, it should not take you too long. As long as you've gone through all your readings and videos, you should be good. You should pass this without a problem. I did kind of create a little list here of I went through some of the questions, and this is kind of the content the basic content that's covered in this quiz. So when you're going through your readings and videos for last week and this week, make sure you're paying close attention to the content on brand identity systems and their characteristics. So what what characteristics play into the brand, and as far as like logos, colors, typography, look and feel, etc. It also goes into, it has a lot of questions in there about the different elements of logos and logo design as it relates to branding. Pay very close attention to a lot of the logo design specification information that is in the readings and videos, things like the elements of style guides, sizing, spacing in images, colors being used in logos, not spacing in images, spacing in logos, colors used in logos, typography used in logos, type of resolution you need, what application, all those things. You're gonna see questions about logo design specs and logo design as it relates to branding. And then also the different types of design pieces that are available to companies and how that relates to their brand identity as well. Things like business cards and letterheads and logos and advertising pieces and things like that. So there'll be some questions about how those design pieces relate to the branding identity, or kind of help encourage the branding identity as well. So I'm not going to give you any of the questions and answers or anything like that, but I can tell you that a lot of the content on that quiz relates to this information here. So when you're going through your readings and videos, pay very close attention when they're talking about brand identity systems, elements of logos and logo design specifications, and logo design as it relates to the brand identity as well. Those are big areas where you're going to get a lot of questions in your quiz about from the readings and videos. Excuse me. Questions, comments, concerns about the discussion post or the assessment before we move on to the assignment? Questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay. All right, and again, I cannot stress this enough. Please make sure you go through all your readings and videos before you attempt to take that quiz, or you will be sorry. I promise. So, last week for our assignment, you started the first week of this first logo redesign that you're doing, or logo design that you're doing. This is a logo redesign. So you should have had an existing logo that you were redesigning. There were options for you to choose from in the week one assignment. Or if you had an existing logo, you could use that as well. In week one, you were in the sketching process of the design. You were in the sketching and rough section of the design process for this logo design. So you should have submitted in week one your sketches. I think there was 9 sketches required, and then 3 refined logo roughs, like logo options in black and white only, okay? So again, you'll be getting feedback on that in the grading today and tomorrow, and then in our live session critique on Thursday as well. You're going to take that feedback this week, and you're going to make changes to the logo, add color to your logo, and then create a kind of a style guide for that logo. So in the you're going to do that in InDesign. You're going to showcase the logo in both black and white, or in black and white, grayscale, and color. You're going to see it being used. You're going to have swatches in there for both CMYK and RGB for your colors, for your logo, things like that. You're going to show the color being used on a dark background. So it's going to be kind of an overall, like, this is the finalized logo. This is what it looks like. These are the colors that you can use. and it's something that you would present to your client, showing that final logo, and that they could send out to any other designers that would be working on it as well. That feedback won't be until Thursday, or when you get your week one grade, correct? Mm-hmm. Yep. And you will do that. No, you will choose one of the 3 logos to finalize. Yep. You don't have to finalize. You don't have to do all 3, just one. Okay. So let's just read through this really quickly, and it's going to answer a lot of your questions for you. Well, you're going to get feedback from me. So if I say this logo is the one to use, you should use that logo. Yeah. If I say you could use any of them, then you can choose any one, right? So because there are many different correct answers when solving a graphic design problem, every project in which you are engaged will often require several rounds of edits before it's complete. A successful logo, and by extension corporate identity, is one that is simple, iconic, and consistent. Thus, logo design in particular requires much refinement to ensure what is created adequately reflects company goals, culture, and messages. Now, what we're doing in this class, you're kind of doing a quick version of this, because I can guarantee you, if you were working on a logo for a company, and this is going to be their brand, part of their brand identity going forward, you're going to go through a lot more edits and adjustments than you will have time to do in this class. So just kind of be aware that we're kind of doing a fast version of it. And the logo that you finish in this class may still need further refinements down the line. But we don't want you to come out of this class with just one logo. We want you to have at least 2 good solid logos out of this class. So we're going to work on the first one in the first 2 weeks, the second one in the second 2 weeks, but don't be surprised when you get to DES250 if there are some additional changes suggested by your FPA and your instructor as well, because we just really don't have the time to put in that you would normally. I mean, you would for a logo design. I would say of all the types of design that I've worked on, logo design probably takes the most time, and that's one of the reasons why, especially when you work freelance, if you do logo design, you would actually charge a lot more for the like, for instance, if I'm just doing a poster and they give me all the assets, they give me the image that they want to use, and they give me the logo, and all I have to do is lay it out and add some fonts to it. I'm going to charge a lot less than if I do a logo design for a client, because the logo they're going to use for a very long time. It's going to be seen on multiple different types of pieces, and it's something that takes a lot more work and effort to get it exactly perfect for them than a simple poster layout would. Make sense? When you are preparing your final logo presentation, it is best to show your design in a variety of ways, thus showcasing its flexibility and adaptability. Producing a logo sheet, which is what you're going to create this week, most often is the way this is shown. In addition to including a designer's name, a client name, or project name, a logo sheet showcases the logo in the following iterations. You're going to showcase it in black and white, in grayscale, in CMYK color, and RGB color. You're going to show it in a variety of sizes as well, so that you can show the flexibility of the logo. So for both the color and the black and white. And then you would show the black and white on a dark background and a color on the dark background as well. Yeah, you had to abandon several of your sketches even, yeah. Or maybe you may have made some adjustments to the sketches when you got in and started actually designing it as well. Yeah, that's all part of the process. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the design process so that it makes a little bit more sense to you in just a minute. So when you provide a client with a robust set of options for their logo, you ensure that the logo will work in a wide variety of applications and remains recognizable in a wide variety of sizes and colors, etc. Right? So what do you think the purpose of showing it to them in CMYK and RGB is going to be? What does that matter? Why do you care? Why would your client care to see it both in CMYK and RGB? Won't it look exactly the same? Yes, one is for print. That's good. So one is for print, one would be more for a web layout, but yeah, different color applications, absolutely. And they are going to have slight adjustments, okay? And in fact, you're probably going to see it more when they print it than they might even on a computer screen. But yes, the colors are going to be ever so slightly different, and they need to be aware that this orange in CMYK is different from the orange in RGB, and because remember how those colors are made. And this is the way I always remember it. This is the easiest way I can think of to tell you how to remember it. RGB is produced by light, CMYK is produced by ink, okay? So the RGB color spectrum is what we see that is created by the sun, or by the light that we turn on, right? Or by a screen on our computer or on our TV. Those are all colors that are combined with red, green, and blue lights. When we use CMYK, we are combining the colors with ink. So we are using cyan, magenta, yellow, and black ink and creating that color from a combination of ink. And when you create it from cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, as opposed to red, green, and blue, you're combining different colors and you're combining them in a different way. Instead of combining light, you're combining ink. And so the colors are going to be slightly different. Now, we hope that, especially now with the advancements we made with printers and with TV screens and computer screens and things like that, the difference should be very, very minimal, but there will be differences. And there's different applications for different logos, and different companies want different versions of the logo, kind of depending on what they're creating for you. So you have to know, you have to be able to use both, and you have to be able to understand the difference between the two. So last week you worked on your preliminary sketches and black and white computer versions of your logo redesign. Coming into this week, you will have the 3 refined computer versions of your redesigned logo executed in black and white. You will get feedback this week from me, and you will finalize the logo direction you feel is most appropriate and create a logo sheet showcasing its appearance in a variety of sizes and situations. So again, you're only revising one logo, one of the 3 logos that you did. I'm going to give you feedback as to which one I think is going to be the best option for you. I may tell you to combine part of one option with another option. I might say all 3 of these are great. It all depends on what direction you want to go in. Pick one and go with that. So everyone's going to have a little bit different critique comments from me. Okay. After receiving your feedback on your week 1 submission, refine and finalize the logo direction that you feel is most appropriate. Consider how you can best maintain the message and consistency within the typeface, color, and overall logo composition. So you're going to finish that logo design. You're going to add color to your design. Okay, make sure if you're redesigning one of the logos that was an option in the week 1 assignment, that you're paying very close attention to what the fact sheet says about the logo. If you brought in your own logo, remember that you should have come up with a concept, at least on paper or in your head, of what direction this company wants to go in with their branding and with their identity and with their logo design, so that you have that consistency. The worst thing you can do is approach this not having a full understanding of what the identity and the branding of the company is going to be, because it's going to show in your design. Make sense? So if you used one of the logos that were an option in week 1, you had that information available too. If you chose to bring in your own logo, you need to have a clear concept of where that identity is heading so that it can be shown in the design of the logo. So you're going to refine, you're going to make any changes to the logo that you need to make based on my comments. You're going to add color to the logo. Okay, and then after you've got the logo done in Illustrator, you're going to create a logo sheet in InDesign that has a title bar with both your name and your client's name in the master pages, so that it's on every single page. You're going to have the before logo clearly marked in there. So again, if you brought in a logo, you want to be able to showcase the original logo that you are refining this week or these 2 weeks. Or if you used one of the ones that was in the assignment, you would just make sure that you put their original design in there and clearly mark it as the original logo or before logo or existing logo, however you want to label it. Then you're going to show the logo, the final logo in black and white. So again, make changes to it first based on my comments. And you're going to show it in black and white. You're going to show it in grayscale. You're going to show it in CMYK. Now in your logo, your black and white version of the logo may have had some grayscale in it, and that's fine. I'll kind of go over that with you in just a second. You'll have your logo in black and white and grayscale. Then you'll have the CMYK, and then you will have RGB. On both the CMYK and the RGB, you need to have a color key or swatches that are on the page as well. And those should have the RGB or CMYK numbers clearly listed on there as well. This information is provided to a client because if they go and have anything printed, the printer needs to know exactly what CMYK colors to use. If they're having a web designer reproduce something and they want to use those RGB colors somewhere else in the web design, the web designer needs to know what those RGB specifications are so they can use those colors within the web design, things like that. For both the black and white and the color logo, and you should probably use your CMYK color logo. You'll show the logo in 1-inch size, 3-inch size, and 6-inch size. You will show your black and white logo on a dark background and your color logo on a dark background as well. These should all be separate pages. And so your final sheet, your final submission, your final logo sheet should be at minimum, I think that's 10 pages. You should have a cover page, you should have an existing logo page, your black and white, your grayscale, your CMYK, your RGB, your black and white at 1, 3, and 6 inches, your color at 1, 3, and 6 inches, your black and white on a dark background, and your black and white, or your color on a dark background as well. So at least 10 pages in length, okay? And that'll be created in InDesign. Remember to design your document, okay? Make sure that you have your company or your information, your client's information on there in a header that is on the master pages that will be consistent throughout the design. You may not use that on your cover page, but you would want to have a header, like a header bar for all of your, a title bar for all of your other pages as well. Then once you get that all done, you're going to export the final 10-page InDesign document as a multi-page PDF. Remember your naming conventions, and then submit that PDF for grading. But then you also want to add your logo redesign to your Behance site. You don't need to have all the different versions of the logo on there, but you would want to have a color version of your logo. I highly, highly suggest that you also go ahead and mock it up and put that on your Behance portfolio. It's not required for this class, but it will be required once you get to DES250. So you can do the work now or you can do it then. It's up to you. But you need to have some version of that color logo up on your Behance site. In your Behance portfolio, and you will need to email the link to that logo to your faculty program advisor and copy me on the email. I also suggest putting the link for your Behance portfolio for that project in your Behance portfolio in the comment section of the submission as well, so that if I don't get the email or if I don't see it, sometimes the name that's associated with your email address is not the name that you have on your school account, and I can't find the email or whatever. So if you put that link in there, I will be able to at least see that you've uploaded it to Behance. But you need to email that link to your faculty program advisor and make sure you copy me on that email so I can see that you've done that. If you don't know who your faculty program advisor is or you need their contact information, again, just email me and let me know, and I have all of that information. I can give that to you. Okay, so if you don't know who that is or you don't have their email address handy and you need that, just send me an email and I'm happy to give that information to you. Okay, now we're right at about the halfway mark of the class. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and then I'm going to, when we come back, we're going to do a demo of this project before we go any further on anything else, because I want to make sure I get through that in this live session today. And I'll kind of go through the whole process with you with that logo that I started last week. Make sense? You said you're having trouble with your Behance. Who do you need to go to get help? So what kind of trouble are you having with your Behance? That's where we need to start. Are you unable to upload or get into your account again? Like, what's the issue?
Yes, upload.
You can't upload. Okay. So one of the things you have to make sure is that you're trying to upload JPEGs. So make sure you're saving them out as JPEGs. Make sure that they are small enough, because if they're too large, it won't let you upload either. So if you've determined that that's not the issue, I would highly suggest getting into either my open office hours so I can look at it, or your faculty program advisors open office hours so they can look at it. If we can't help you out, then you'll have to go to Behance and try and get help from them. But that would be where I would start you, is say, make sure that you're trying to upload JPEGs, and make sure that your JPEGs are small enough that you're not going over the size.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll try that first.
Okay, sounds good. Yep. You have to have at least one tag to, it has to either be tagged as graphic design or photography, or tagged with like an Adobe software or something like that. So yeah, that's a good point too. Okay, good. All right, let's take a quick 10-minute break, and then again, when we come back, I will do a demo for you as well, okay? All right, give me about 10 minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Let's see. Let me open up Illustrator. And so before we get started, let's talk a little bit about the design process, because I think it's really important to understand what the process entails and kind of where we are in the process currently in this design. So the first part of the process is you have to define the problem. Why is your client coming to you? What do they need? Well, for this week, we were approached by a client last week. They needed a new logo. That was the problem we needed to solve. So then we had to go and collect a bunch of information before we could ever start designing the logo. We needed to find out who the company was and what their needs were and all of those sort of things, right? So we did part of that process in week 1. Then we did brainstorming and analyzation of ideas, which we did. Everybody hear me okay and everything? Just want to make sure before I go too far into this and no one can hear me or no one's there, you know, that kind of thing. Can everybody hear me and see my screen okay and everything? Yes, okay, good. Okay, just to make sure. All right, so so in week 1, we kind of went through steps 1, 2, 3, and then we started in 4, right? And so we're kind of in the second half of 4, 5, and 6, right? So if you'll notice this little infographic about the design process, it goes in a circle, and you'll notice that the arrows never stop. They just keep going round and round and round and round. And that is because this process could potentially go over and over and over again before you get that final design piece done. So we collected information from our client to find out what they needed. We brainstormed and did some analyzation of ideas. We developed a solution. So we sketched, we refined 3 options, and then we presented our ideas to our client for feedback. So then in this week, we're going to improve upon that design. And then we will, and you know, a lot of times in this process, we may skip one, but after this, in a normal setting, you would improve upon the design, and then you would go back and collect more information from your client before you could improve it, and you may do some more brainstorming and some more development, and then you'll present your feedback, your solutions to your client again for feedback. You may end up going back to improving your design and getting more information. So again, this process can go over and over and over again until you get that final result. But currently we are in, for week 2, we are in step 6, where we are getting ready to improve upon our design. So you're going to get additional information. You're going to collect additional information from your client. I'll be acting as your client this week and giving you additional adjustments that you need to make to your logo. You may do some more brainstorming, some more analyzation. You're going to develop a new solution or an adjusted solution, and then you're going to improve upon that design, and you're going to resubmit that for additional feedback. Make sense? So in Illustrator, you created 3 refined logos from your sketches last week. You submitted them all in black and white, and again, you'll get feedback from me, which one I think is your strongest solution for the logo. And so your next step is then to come in and start, making any changes or adjustments, and then adding color to that as well. So let's say that this was the logo that I submitted, and my client came back and said, I like the direction you're going, but I'm not sure about the M and the G. I'm not sure about the font on that. Can you adjust that a little bit, and then we should be good to go for you to add color and things like that. Maybe that's what I got. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, well, they didn't like that font. I may ask them questions. Well, what didn't you like about the font? Did you think it was too hard to read? Did you not like that it was slanted? Like, what about it did you feel needed to change, right? So I'm going to get additional information from my client, so that I can because I could sit here and guess, oh, maybe they'll like this font, maybe they'll like that font, but I want to get some additional information from them. So let's say they say, you know, it just all looked really kind of hand-drawn at the top, and I want it to be a little bit more uniform on the M and the G. The slanting threw me off a little bit. I don't know. We want something a little bit less kind of hand-drawn looking. Oh, okay. That gives me an idea of what direction to go in, right? So then I have an idea. I have an idea of what direction I need to go in. And keep in mind that your client may or may not offer that up initially. So they may just come back and say, I'm not sure about the font on the M and G. Can we adjust that? And that may be all they give you at first. So just understand that you may have to go and ask your client additional information. Now, I will try and give you as much of that information as I can in my feedback, but if you ever have any questions, both in your coursework or when you're working with a client, you will never know unless you ask. So don't try and guess, because that could just cause more and more work for you in the long run. So if you could get from them, oh, I want it to be a little bit more, I want it to be less hand-drawn, then you at least have an idea of where to start and where to go with that, right? So I'm just going to kind of look through my fonts and see if I can find one that might work a little bit better. I'm going to go with Future because that's super easy and that'll work for now. Okay, I'm going to try that. Let's see what that looks like. May not even like that, but I'm going to go with bold. It might work a little bit better. Oh, it just went out and when it came back on. Oh, you do have a lot of problems with your power, don't you? Yeah. No, I'm not liking Future. I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to keep looking. I start left off. To have an interesting look to it. Don't want it to be too simple. A bit much. Let's see. Oh, like that one. That's some interesting fonts on my computer, don't I? I kind of like that. That gives it a little bit of a kind of an interesting look. What was that? Let's do this. The easiest way to do it. Boom. Okay. All right, so I've decided on a new font that I'm hoping that they'll like. Again, they might not. They may come back and say, oh, that's not right either. Or they might say, I don't like it. You know, I like that font, but now it doesn't look right where it is in the logo. I don't know. They could come back and say just about anything, right? But I at least have a place to start. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with this font and work from there. All right, so now I've adjusted my logo. And again, you're gonna get feedback from me and hopefully you're gonna know a little bit better what you need to adjust in it. And then I need to add color. We're gonna talk about color on Thursday before we do our live session critiques. I just couldn't fit everything in today. So we will talk more about color and kind of what colors are going to work best for what company you're working with. But I remember that my client said that they wanted, you know, fun colors. They wanted a lot of color. They wanted bright colors. They wanted to be really artistic. So I'm going to be thinking in those terms. I'm going to maybe do some research. Again, I might look at, this is an art gallery. Might look at some inspiration and see, okay, I'm seeing lots of full saturation colors. I'm seeing a lot of primary colors. You know, I see, so I need to come up with a color combination that I think is going to work for my client. So one of the things that I might do is maybe I'll go to Adobe Color CC and work with that and kind of explore some of the options, the color schemes. So maybe I might add some keywords in here that might work for my client. So I did art, and oh look, there's a really good bright color scheme. There's a good color scheme. I know they said they wanted bright and they wanted artistic, so I'm going to stay away from like these darker colors. and kind of maybe work with some of these brighter, more saturated colors. Actually, I like this one a lot. I like this, this color scheme. I think this might work for my client. So I'm going to download this. Oh, of course, it's going to tell me to sign in. Hold on. Should be signed in, but let me try this. I have a new sign-in because I'm on the enterprise system now, so which you will all be as well, and we'll all have to do this same thing, which is super fun. Okay, now, okay. Oh, no format and cannot be opened. Of course it is. Okay. Where did it go? Okay, now I have to refind it. Which one was it? I think it was this one, right? Yeah. Let's see if I actually saved it to my library now that I am logged in. There it is. Okay. So here's my color theme that I chose for to work with. All right. So I can now decide where do I want to put this color scheme. Maybe I want Metropolitan Art, so I have to think about, do I want to use all of it? I probably don't want to use all of it. This is a logo. I'm probably going to choose maybe 2, maybe 3 colors. Maybe 3. And I really like, kind of like this purple, blue, and yellow combination. Now you'll notice when I'm hovering over this color combination that it shows me the RGB and the CMYK number values as I hover over them, right? So, why can't I? Let me figure out where I want what. I'm going to try the purple first here, maybe the blue and nothing there. There we go. Same thing here. No. Okay. Well, let's try this in yellow and see what I think. Maybe. Let me try this in the yellow. I want to make sure that it is. Opacity is brought back up. Opacity back up. I like that better with the yellow behind the purple. I do too. I like that a lot. Slight adjustments to the layout here. And I could keep this black. I don't necessarily, why did it not? That's what I want. That's better. I can leave that black, but I kind of like that pop of color. I don't know, what do you guys think? Should I leave it black or use that blue? I think I like it with the blue. The blue, yep, I think so. Although, you know, I like the concept of the A in the background, but it's not quite working for me. Maybe if I found a font that I liked, it might work a little bit better. My computer's been very bizarre recently. I want to see if I can find a font that kind of gives me that same look instead of doing the hand drawn. Let's see what we can find here. I just think A, it's going to be a little easier to work with, and B, it just gives a little bit more uniformity to the design in general. And I do know that my client said that they, the hand-drawn thing wasn't quite working for them. Oh, let me take this 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Okay, all right. Sorry about that. My phone is ringing. Let's see, what can I use that is going to have kind of the same sort of look, but that has a little bit more uniformity in the font itself. So I kind of still want that hand-drawn kind of look, but I don't want it to be truly hand-drawn, because my client said something to me about not liking the hand, wanting it to be a little bit more uniform. So I think I'm going to change my A as well. I can still have the same look and feel to the logo design, but I'm going to use an A, I think, instead. That might work well. Let's see what that does. Oh, hello. Come back. I kind of like that A. I think it might work for what I want it to. Oh, what do you guys think? I kind of like that. Okay. It also gives me somewhere to kind of place my M and my G a little bit. Not bad. I like in this direction. What do you guys think? The same basic concept, but just a little bit more uniform overall. So I think this is what I'm going to show my client as my redesigned logo. So this is made changes, added color to it, all of that. So what do you guys think? Good? Yeah? Okay. You don't care for the yellowish in the background? I don't know, yeah. Could try the blue in the background. Do you like that better? Let's see. Not bad. We do. I don't like that at all. I wonder what the pink would look like behind it, just out of curiosity. Nope, that's too close. That's not going to work with my contrast. So then one of the reasons that I was using the yellow and the purple is for the contrast. So remember, you have to show it in grayscale and black and white too. Yeah. Now you can always adjust the color too. So if you found a color scheme that you like, but you're like, oh, I'm not really in love with that yellow, I could always like add more yellow to it or something like that, right? A little bit better. A little bit brighter too. I want this a little bolder, so it'll stand out a little bit more. So you can make adjustments. I mean, you don't have to stick with, I mean, if you like basically the color scheme, but you want to adjust it a little bit, you can always do that as well. So this is my logo with color, we'll say, okay. Yeah, the name's a little bit better. Kind of like the darker, well, it's a little bit more orange now. I kind of like it with a little bit more yellow. Maybe not too much more yellow. It's pretty good. It's kind of a combination between the two. So I've got good contrast in the logo. I've got decent color scheme. I've got my adjustments made. Do you want the color choices with the numbers on the page? Yes, you'll have to do that for your. So first thing I want to do is I want to save this logo. So I'm going to save this as my final logo. File, save as. Sorry, Zoom window's in my way. Down. Now I'm going to create a new folder for my week. So this is week 2 for DES242, right? So I'm going to create a folder for my week 2. And I'm going to put, I'm going to call this my final, oops, somewhere here on the PDF, look at that. Oh, save as. Illustrator document, I open up the PDF, not a big deal. I'll call this week 2. Oh, it's already there, okay. So then this is going to be the final logo 1. Save. Okay. So now I need to open up InDesign and start working in there. Now, if I want to, I can make my adjustments to my logo in Photoshop. I can make my adjustments to my logo in Illustrator. I can make my adjustments to my logo in InDesign. I'm probably going to go ahead and create another artboard, and this is because it's just going to be easier for me personally. And I'm going to, first off, I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to go to type, create outlines. So instead of this being typed now, it's all shapes, so I can do that. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, my final logo, 1 in outlines. I personally like to save it both as outlines and as type for myself. I may only send one version. The reason I do that, Roxanne, is because I can send this now to a client as an image or to a printer as an image without needing to send them fonts. Yes, we can package it with the fonts and everything like that, but let's say that I am working on a Mac and I send it to a client and they have a PC. We're going to have issues with fonts and things like that, right? So I like to save it as outlines. It also is going to make it a little bit easier when I adjust the colors on it and things like that. But I like to have both versions, and I like to have them in separate files. I mean, I could do just a separate artboard and do one with outlines and one without. I just chose to do it this way. So like, for instance, I could have that there, and then I could copy and paste it, bring it over here, and then choose this one and say, okay, oops. For this one, I'm going to do object or type, create outlines, right? So then I have the text version, I have the outline version here, but I like to have them in both. I haven't grouped it yet, no. I will, but I have not yet. So, because I need to have then another artboard, right, where I have this in grayscale and in black and white. Now, if you, let's say I made all of these changes, to the original logo, and I kept it all in black and white. Okay, now this, what I might do to do this is I might say, okay, these, no stroke, and just have them as solid black. And this, I might actually switch and do white with a black stroke on that. Okay, so this would be my black and white version of this logo. Okay, I'll Actually, let me do this over here. Copy. Already did that. Oh, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this text version. Okay. So in order to have a true black and white version, what I would do for this particular logo, because I'm using, you can use grayscale, but for that yellow. But I think if you want a true black and white logo, the best way to do that is to say, okay, my darkest colors go black, my lightest colors go white with a black stroke on it. That's the easiest way to black and white a logo. Okay, dark colors go black, light colors go white with a black stroke on it. Because you still want to be able to see the shape of it, but you want it to be white for a true black and white logo. Okay. I preferred that you did your logo. The reason I didn't go over this in week 1 is because I prefer to see kind of where you're going to add color. So I like to see where there's going to be some light color and dark color in your logo refinements, so that I can kind of see where you're going with this. If I just see a stroke outline, I don't know, are you going to keep that wide? Are you going to add color to it? Things like that. So that's why I didn't show you this in week 1. But so for week 2, you'll need to have a true black and white version of your logo, right? So would you do white stroke on the letters? I would not. So because these don't have strokes on them as they sit. So again, I just do dark colors are black, light colors are white. So you should only be using 2 or 3 colors for your logo, right? 3 tops. So what you just pick your darkest colors, they go black, your lightest colors go white with a black stroke. So you can still see the shape, but you know that it's white. Make sense? So yeah, so I would do that black and white with no stroke. And then for this black letter, I would go white with a black stroke. So this would be my black and white version of the logo, okay? Then I can come in here and create another artboard, okay? And I'm going to create now a grayscale version, right? So I'm going to use the outlined version for my grayscale and edit. I see they took the grayscale out of here. Oh, no, they didn't. There it is. Why couldn't I find that last week? That's weird. Okay, so because I've changed this from text to, I've created outlines and now it's a vector shape. Now it's going to let me do grayscale. So I can just select everything and I can go to edit colors and convert that to grayscale. Okay, so now I have a grayscale version. I might adjust this a little bit though, because I know that this is darker. So I might actually make this a darker gray, just to kind of visually show that it's darker than the yellow. Okay, so you might have to adjust your grays, but it's going to automatically, whatever is darkest, it's going to make it black, and then it's going to grayscale any lighter colors. Okay, so now I've got my text version, my outlined version. These are all going to be, let me check my colors here. So this is here's my CMYK, here's my RGB. And it should already be in CMYK. But we can do that in a second. Okay. So, to take this version, and I think I'll go ahead and group this now. Copy it, paste it, and make sure that it is in CMYK. Okay, and I'm going to one more. And make sure this one is in, let me convert it to RGB. It means it's already RGB. Okay. Should be RGB. Yeah, it must already be in RGB because it won't let me change it to RGB. Okay. So Now I have my text version, my outline version, my black and white version, my grayscale, CMYK, and RGB. Okay? Now I'm going to save this. And I want to I'm going to save them as, it doesn't really matter, but I can save them as EPSs. And if I click on use artboards, it should give me all different versions. I need to adjust my file names though. So this is, bring in my artboards window, artboards. So this one is my text logo. This one is my outline logo. This one is my black and white logo. This is my grayscale logo. This is my CMYK logo. And this is my RGB logo. Okay, I'm going to show you. So now they're all named as the correct logo, which you can only see if you're in the artboards. Okay, so I just clicked on artboards to see what the names of them were. Then I went to window and opened up my artboard. And they were just artboard 1, artboard 2, artboard 3, et cetera, right? Yeah. So then I just changed it. This is my text logo, this is my outline logo, my black and white grayscale, CMYK, and RGB. Because the 4 that I want to be able to place into my InDesign file is the black and white, the grayscale, the CMYK, and the RGB. Okay? So I am going to also create a new set and see if I can color group. And we'll call this MAG logo colors. Okay. And I'm going to add this color to it. And I'm going to add this color to it. And I'm going to add this color to it. The thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file. And I should be able to pull this swatch library into InDesign as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to call this my final logo 1. And what I want to try and do is change it to an EP. I want to save it out as EPSs, and I want to use the artboards. And so hopefully what this will do is save it out as 6 individual EPSs. Okay? Let's see if it does that right. Okay. Cool. There it is. See it? CMYK, grayscale, RGB, black and white. There they are. Okay? So now I can go into InDesign and let's see. I'm going to do landscape. I know I need 10 pages, right? Not going to do facing pages, so I'm going to click on create. All right. So now I've got my 10 pages, right? And so what I'll be able to do then is I will be able to then, when it's, so the first page is my cover page, my second page is the existing logo. The third page is going to be my, I have to go back. Let's see. Third page is the logo in black and white, then we do grayscale, then we do CMYK, and then we do RGB, okay? So then I can just go in and create a frame and go File, Place, and then I'll have my black and white logo that I can place in there. Make sense? So the first thing I'll need to do is I'll need to go into my pages and open up my master page. I'm gonna have to create some sort of title, right? Or a header. So I am going to utilize the company's color scheme that I've created for them. Oh, that's what I need to do. I need to go and see if I can import. Won't let me load them from my Adobe document. When I move these into create a new now there's a way that we can use the swatches in add selected swatches to a color group. Okay, there we go. Now I got that in there. There they are. Perfect. Okay. So did you see how I did that? I just selected this group and then I said add selected swatches to my current library, under my library. And then when I go into Illustrator, now I have those colors. And I can double click on them and there's my CMYK, my RGB. There's the hex number as well if I wanted that. Okay. All right. So now I can use those colors in my layout. So I go here and add some boxes down here. Okay. I'm using that yellow color, and then I might say, right, this is the Metropolitan Art Gallery logo redesign. I also want to make sure that I'm using, oh, what did I do here? That's not what I wanted to do at all. Sorry, it's going to bother me. So what am I using here? I'm using Century Gothic. Century Gothic, bold, bigger, not that big, not that big. And I'm going to change the color to the blue. Okay. So I'm doing all of this, hopefully. Doing this all on my master pages. Yes, I am. Okay, good. So then I might make, let's see, we'll call this. So you may have your own company name or you may have your own logo you want to add. I'm just going to do, Sarah Moss Design as the you want to add your name or your design firm name or your logo or whatever on this as well. So you don't want to just do the branding for the company, you also want to do your branding as well. But I'm going to change that to the purple color. And I'm going to make this bigger, but not as big as theirs. I think I want that to be 30. So by adding this to my master pages, then I can very easily, excuse me, have this on all of the pages that I want it on. Now it does also, I think, make mention to make sure that you're using a grid. Let's see, view, grids and guides. I'm going to create my own grid on this just because there's not a lot of content that's going to go in here, but what I do want to make sure is that my logo, so I'm showing different versions of my logo on each one, I want to make sure that it sits in the exact same place. So I'm going to, so this is, I'm going to just create myself a very simple grid that is, sorry, I can't talk and do it at the same time, that basically just shows me where the center of the page is. So that I know exactly how to center that logo in the page for each logo. So it's going to be centered on the page. And let's see, into my pages. Yeah. So because I put that on my master page, anything that has a master page applied to it is going to have both the grid that I added and also the header and footer that I added as well. Okay. Now, again, my second page is going to be the existing logo. Then I go into my black and white, my grayscale, and my color versions. But this first page needs to be my cover page. I don't necessarily want this to be the layout of that cover page. I want it to look a little bit different. So I'm going to apply no master page to that. Okay, and then instead, I'm going to put the redesigned logo on the front here. File, place. Let's do that version, that's fine. Okay, and I want to use my fitting to fit the frame to the content. So I've got a nice clean fitting there, and I actually want to just, well, I think I'm going to put this over towards the side, and I'm going to create a, this is the Metropolitan Art Gallery logo redesign, I spelled redesign project for DES242, and then I'm going to put my name. Okay. And again, I want to think about consistency, right? So I'm going to do things like I'm going to use the same font that I've used in the logo, same colors, that sort of thing, so that I have consistency throughout the document, even on the cover page for the project, right? That is kind of hard to read, so I'm going to make this bigger. 15 points. Create a nice little box for this. I'll put it down here at the bottom. And I'm going to my text frame options, and I want to vertically adjust this as well so that I can add a stroke color to it. Okay, so this is my cover page. Actually, I don't like that there. I'm going to put that there. I remember when you're in InDesign that you'll see all the text frames and everything, and if you don't want to see that, if you want to see what it looks like without all of the grid and the text frame squares and things like that, you just come down here and you go from normal mode to preview, and that'll show you what that final page is going to look like. So when I'm looking at it in the final page, I don't like the way that's laying out, so I'm actually going to center these in the page, put that right next to it. A little bit better. Okay. It's pretty good. Okay. So now I can go back to normal mode. Okay, so I've got my cover page done. Then going down here, I need to have the existing logo. Yep, sometimes good, sometimes not. I think it's okay for this. I really want that because I don't have a lot of, I'm not using as much white space on those second pages, so I think that cover page, I think that's fine. I could add a border like I do have on the other ones or something like that if I wanted to, but no, I'm going to go simple. So then I need to add my existing logo, right? So I have to come back in here and I need to go to week 1 assignment. Now, if you had your own logo that you were working on, you should have a version of that you can place in there. Otherwise, this folder here. Oh, but already open, or let's see, this is logo 1 probably, right? Yep. Okay. So then I can come in here in design, and again, I'm going to create a frame for my picture. That's the call I was waiting for. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Okay, sorry. That was the vet again. Okay, my screen. Okay, so then let's see. So I created my frame. And I'm going to go into my downloads and open that assignment folder and open up that logo. Okay, now I want to again use my fitting options, and I want to fill fit content, fit content proportionally. There we go. That's what I wanted. I'm trying to remember how to do that. Okay, so then I'm going to make sure, again, I'm using my grid, making sure that I have that centered on the page. Right? Got it centered, good. And then, of course, I have to label this. I'm going to put my labels down here, I think. Yep. So we're going to call this the existing logo. Again, consistency. I'm going to make sure that I'm using this same font throughout. And I'm going to leave these as black. And make it a little bit bigger. And I could even add this to, what I might do is, So I'm using my grid. I can copy and paste it. I was going to say I can put this on my master pages so that it's there, but then you have to override the master pages in order to edit it every time, which I find to be a little bit cumbersome. So I'm going to leave it like that. So what's my next one? My black and white version, right? We got that already loaded on here. Just make sure that I'm going to object, fitting, fit frame to content, and then make sure that that is centered. Okay. And then copy and paste this onto this page. Put it in the exact same spot. So because I'm using my guides for my what are those things called on the outside of the page? Margins. It's going to be in the exact same place every single time, right? So this is the black and white logo. Okay. And then I can come down here, do the same thing. Oh, file, place. So the next one was the grayscale, right? Back in here, open up my grayscale. Again, make sure I go to object, fitting, fit frame to content. And if you make all your artboards consistent, which I think I kind of did, but didn't pay very close attention to it, but if I make all my artboards consistent in Illustrator, then they're all going to be the exact same size. So they're going to fit exactly the same way. They're going to be the exact same size logo, exact same artboard. They're going to fit exactly where I want it to be in InDesign. Right? There's that. Okay. And this is my grayscale logo. And we're going to do CMYK. File. Yes. But do you see why saving these artboards out made my life so much easier? Now I've got all the different versions. I did them in Illustrator. It was easy for me to copy and paste, create the artboards, and then I just saved it out as artboards, and then that way I had as EPSs, and then I have multiple EPSs that I can just put into this InDesign document, make it super easy, right? So my CMYK version. Again, object, fitting, fit frame to content. Make sure I got it. On there. Now, I have to do one extra thing for the CMYK and the RGB. What do I have to do for those? I have to have a color key, correct? Right, so the easiest way to do that would be I have 3 colors on here, right? I'm just going to create a box, and I don't want any. We got the purple. Copy and paste, put that right next to it. The blue. The yellow, right? Just figure out where I want to put that. I'm going to put that up here. And then I'm going to look at each one. Actually, if I hover over it, it's going to say CMYK. It's going to have my CMYK numbers and everything like that. But if I open that up and I open the color picker up, I can see, okay, so I have 68, 100, 25, 12. 68, 100, 68, 100, 25, and 12. I really should be using, if I were smart, which apparently I'm not, I would be using my style sheets as well, my paragraph style sheets in my, so that I can easily access this font every time I want. But since I'm only using the same, since I'm using the same font over and over again, it's not that bad. And then just do the same thing. So the blue, it is 76, 19, 21, 26, 19. One space of broken history. 21 and 1, right? Zero, 27, 91, 0, 7, 91, and 1. 1, 2. Oh, that's 0. That's why. Okay. So that's in fact I'd be right. Okay. Make sense? Everybody with me? Okay. So again, it looks kind of a little, you know, jumbled because it's got all these image frames. But if I want to see what it's going to look like, I want to preview. Okay. And I'm seeing that these are a little bit close, so I might, come on, pull those out a little bit. That's a little bit better. So there's, you know, some benefits to looking at it in preview mode so you can kind of see how it lays out, right? Okay, then I can go back into normal. I'm going to do the same thing for my RGB, right? Just place that logo in, then do my RGB color scheme, then call it RGB, and then, what am I missing? I think I'm missing something. Oh, and then I have to do it on a dark color background and a light color background. That's what I have to do. Cover page, listing logo, black and white, grayscale, CMYK, RGB. Then I'm gonna make sure, because we're out of time, so I just want to make sure that I show you how to do each individual part. So you do the, so you'll do the RGB just like you did the CMYK, same thing, place it in, put RGB, and then do the same color blocks for the RGB colors, but you'll just, again, you hover over it and it'll tell you, it's not showing the RGB, but here's the RGB right here, 105, 37, 108, just double click on it and it'll show it to you. If you double click on, if you have the color selected and you double click here, same thing, the color picker will tell you the RGB as well. Then what else do we have to do? So then we do CMYK, RGB, oh, then we do it in the different sizes, right? So the way to do that is to create a image frame the correct size, okay? So it's going to be, you basically you want the box to be 1 inch by 1 inch. 1 inch, right? And then you'll do, so you do a 1 inch version, a 3 inch version, and a 6 inch version. 3, 3. And then you do a 6 inch version. Come on. 6 and 6, right? And you'll have to kind of move things around so they all get in there. Right, and then you'll just put it in there. You'll do a color version and a black and white version. So I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to do the outline logo. Then I have to use my fitting options, object fitting, fit content proportionally, right? Same here, File, run it, File, Place. And I could have added this to my CC library if I wanted to. I always forget to use that, but it's fine. that in there. Object, fitting, fit content proportionally, right? Same thing, okay? So the only issue with that is that my artboard's a little bit bigger than the, you might want to make sure that when you're doing your artboards, I forgot about this, when you're doing your artboards, you might want to size the artboard down to fit snugly around your logo. Because that way when you size it down, you use your fitting options, you see how I have all that white around it that I don't want? I can always come in there and fix that, right? By just grabbing onto the logo and sizing it up a little. But if you don't want to have to go through that trouble, if you use smaller artboards, that's going to make it easier for you. Make sense? But you want it to just fit nicely in those sizes, okay? So you're going to do that for each one. For color, you might want to label it 1 inch, 3 inch, 6 inches. And you'll do the same thing here with the black and white. You'll make 3 image frames, one 1 inch by 1 inch, one 3 inch by 3 inch, and one 6 inch by 6 inch, okay? Then what I would do for the final logo is, let's see, I have a version of this saved all by itself, right, I think. So I also had saved a version. The easiest way that I can think of to tell you to do this is to design, create a background. Now it says a dark background, it doesn't say black, and I would avoid using black because you want to show it, remember, with the black and white version. If you try to put a black and white logo on this, you would lose all the black, right? So you don't necessarily want it to be black. You want it to be kind of a gray color, like a dark gray. Yep, absolutely. So I'm going to make this. Just going to drop the opacity on it. That's what I'll do. The easiest way to do it is just to turn it black and drop the opacity. Maybe to like 70, 65, something like that. I'm going to go with 70. So first I want to show the logo in color. Now, these are EPSs, right? So if I try and place the EPS, it's going to have a white background on it. We don't want that white background. So I'm also going to have to come in here and take the logo, copy it, create a new design, place that in, do a file, save as, and just call this my color logo. And actually, I can probably just copy it and paste it right into InDesign. It's probably going to be the best. I mean, it's not the best way to do an InDesign file. I think, though, if I save it out, even if I try and place the, I go to File, Place, maybe the color logo. See, it's still going to have the white. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, good. File, Place. There we go. Okay. And I want it nice and big, so I'm going to make my frame the same basic size as the gray box, and I'm going to say object fitting fit content proportionally. Okay, so I've got it on a little big dark gray background in color, and I'm going to do the same thing with my black and white. Come over here, and I'm going to grab my black and white logo. Oops. Object. Oops. Copy. Paste that in here. I'm going to go File, save a copy as, okay, Black and white logo. Over. Oops. Center that there. Okay. And then I'm going to create an image frame, nice and big. File, place, black and white logo. Okay. And then object, fitting, put content proportionally. This one for whatever reason is smaller, but that's fine, I can make it bigger. Okay. Make sense? Does all that make sense? Any questions about how to set this up? So again, cover page, make sure you have something on your master pages. You're going to do the existing logo, black and white logo, grayscale logo, CMYK with the swatches. Then you'll do the RGB with the swatches. Then you'll show it the color in 3 different sizes, black and white in 3 different sizes, color on a dark background, black and white on a dark background, and that's it, okay? Once you are done, make sure you save it first in case you need to make any changes to it later, right? Remember your naming conventions, DES242. This is the assignment 2, and your first and last name. Save it as the InDesign file first, then file, save as a, oh, no, sorry, in InDesign it's export file, export as a PDF, right? Save the naming conventions, save that out as a PDF. Yes, transparency, got it. Don't worry about transparency. Then you'll also have to choose whatever logo that you want to save out as a JPEG, right, for your Behance portfolio, right? So you're going to do a color version. You may do just the logo and also it mocked up if you want, but in order to save that, just do a file, export, save for web, and make sure it's a JPEG, okay? This is just an Illustrator outline file, so it's just text outlined. It should not be big. It doesn't have any images on it, so you can save it as a high resolution. It should still be plenty, a good size for Behance. You'll just save that out as a JPEG, and then you'll upload the JPEG into your Behance portfolio. And that's it. That's your week 2 assignment. Questions, comments, concerns? Anyone? Anyone need help with anything? Anyone have questions about how to create that? Anything like that? No? I'm not seeing any? Okay. Well, I have my open office hours right after this class, so if you have, so you just have to save it 3 different ways. Yeah, you have to save it. Yeah, you have to save it as a JPEG for your Behance. You want to save the color and the black and white logo out by itself, but not as an EPS, as an Illustrator file, so you can get it on top of that colored background, the dark colored background. And then you also, but I think that if you create them all in separate artboards in the same file and then save the artboards out individually like I did, it'll be so much easier to put them in as EPSs. It just takes less time. You could create them all in their own Illustrator file and save them out that way, but that's a lot of work. So it's up to you. Yep. All right. So let me know if you have any questions. If you start working on it and you get confused or you don't know quite what to do, you can always again come into my open office hours or wait till our Thursday live session and just make sure you have it up on your computer. I can take a look at it if you have questions about it on Thursday as well. Yep, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much for sticking around. I know it took a few extra minutes. I apologize for having to take a phone call, but you know, silly dogs and their silly broken paws. Otherwise, let me know if you have any other questions or comments or concerns, or otherwise I will get to work on those grades and then see you on Thursday morning. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.